Welcome to British Focus. Today, we are delving into a rather extraordinary episode in contemporary politics, one that sees Nigel Farage, the self-styled Trump whisperer, facing what can only be described as a monumental public humiliation on the global stage. It is a moment that has left us all to ponder the true nature of political alliances and the unpredictable dynamics that underpin the interplay between power and personality. Farage, who for so long has prided himself on being the closest British ally to Donald Trump, now finds himself embroiled in a narrative that reeks of betrayal and a bitter reversal of fortunes. Imagine, if you will, a scene where expectations are high and anticipation is palpable. Farage had built an image, carefully curated over years of political maneuvering, as someone who could sway even the most formidable of world leaders. Yet, on this fateful occasion, when the mighty Donald Trump, a figure whose word was once considered sacrosanct in the corridors of power, chose instead to lavish praise upon Keir Starmer, the result was nothing short of a public relations debacle for Farage. Witnesses recount that Farage's face flushed a deep red, an unmistakable expression of fury and disbelief, as the US president completely disregarded his presence in favor of Starmer. There is something profoundly symbolic about this moment. For Farage, who had long positioned himself as the indispensable intermediary between Trump and the British political establishment, the decision to elevate Starmer was a clear repudiation of his own political clout. The betrayal was stark, and one could almost see the metaphorical crumbling of his carefully constructed edifice of influence. As Trump described Starmer as a very special person, one can only imagine the sheer shock and frustration that overtook Farage, his jaw dropping, his hands clenching in a fit of exasperation, realizing, perhaps for the first time, that his influence had evaporated into thin air. This episode does not merely serve as a personal setback for Farage. It also symbolizes a broader shift in the political landscape. Starmer, arriving in Washington as a Labour leader still finding his feet, managed to leave as a bona fide statesman. His visit to the White House was not simply a diplomatic exercise, but rather a transformative journey that saw him consolidate his position both on the international stage and, crucially, at home. The contrast between Starmer's steady, pragmatic approach and the sensationalist antics of his right-wing adversaries could not be more pronounced. While Farage clung desperately to his fading image of being Trump's right-hand man, Starmer emerged with a renewed sense of purpose and credibility. It is impossible not to feel a tinge of schadenfreude as we observe the unfolding of events. Here was a man who had built his entire political identity around an alleged, almost mythical, closeness to Trump. A connection that, as we now see, was perhaps more superficial than substantive. The ultimate irony was laid bare when a journalist's seemingly innocuous question about the Chagos Agreement triggered an unexpected and decisive response from Trump. Instead of rebuffing Farage's long-standing assertions, Trump offered an unambiguous endorsement of the agreement, sending shockwaves through the room. The murmurs of disbelief that swept through the press corps were a testament to the magnitude of this political miscalculation. Even those who had been steadfast in their belief in Farage's influence on Trump could not help but concede that the relationship, if it ever existed in any meaningful sense, was a fragile facade at best. For those of us watching this spectacle unfold, it prompts a broader reflection on the nature of political power and the fickle nature of alliances. How often do we find that those who are quick to claim special connections with figures of immense power eventually find themselves sidelined, their voices drowned out by the realities of global diplomacy? Farage's predicament serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that the political stage is as unpredictable as it is unforgiving. In the modern age, where media narratives are as influential as any policy, the ability to adapt and evolve is paramount. Starmer's ascent during this episode, contrasted sharply with Farage's desperate scramble to regain relevance, underscores a key lesson. True influence is not built on empty rhetoric or superficial associations, but on a steadfast commitment to pragmatism and a genuine understanding of the intricacies of governance. As we consider this episode, one cannot help but engage in a dialogue with ourselves and with you, the audience. What does this say about our current political environment? Is it possible that in our collective rush to form alliances and carve out niches of influence, we have allowed the allure of personality to overshadow the more substantive aspects of leadership? Farage's experience, with its palpable mix of anger, disbelief, and eventual isolation, forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that political capital is a fickle commodity. When the very pillars upon which one's reputation are built crumble in the face of an unexpected shift, the resulting fallout can be both dramatic and far-reaching. For those of us who value the art of politics, There is an undeniable sense of irony in watching Farage's influence diminish in such a public and ignominious fashion. It raises probing questions about the sustainability of political strategies that rely heavily on personal branding and the cultivation of image over substance. As we welcome you to this discussion on British Focus, we invite you to ponder these issues with a critical eye. How long can a political persona, no matter how carefully crafted, withstand the relentless scrutiny of a world that values authenticity and decisive leadership? In the end, the tale of Nigel Farage on that memorable day serves as a stark reminder that in the realm of international politics, the tides of fortune can change in the blink of an eye. The public display of his humiliation is not merely an isolated incident. It is emblematic of a broader trend where alliances are tested, loyalties are questioned, and the very nature of influence is constantly redefined. While Farage clung to his long-held belief in his special relationship with Trump, the reality of the situation, as revealed in the candid response to a single question about the Chagos Agreement, was that such bonds are, at best, ephemeral and, at worst, illusory. As you listen and reflect on this narrative, consider the lessons that it imparts about ambition, influence, and the transient nature of political power. It is a tale that invites us to question our assumptions about leadership and to remain ever vigilant against the seductions of simplistic narratives. For in politics, as in life, it is often the unexpected moments of truth that reveal the deeper realities beneath the surface. Over the past several months, doubts have continually swirled around the true nature of the relationship between Nigel Farage and Donald Trump, a bond that many believe to be unbreakable, yet now appears to be nothing more than a fragile illusion. Farage, along with his close allies, had diligently presented two significant dossiers to Trump's team, arguing vehemently that the president should reject the controversial Chagos Agreement. Instead, the ultimate response from Trump was completely contrary to Farage's expectations. This stark reversal not only cast a shadow over Farage's long-held assertions but also exposed the extent to which his influence had been overstated. When the news broke, Farage's reaction was nothing short of explosive. It is reported that he immediately began making frantic phone calls, demanding explanations with an intensity that suggested his world was collapsing before his eyes. The dream he had so carefully cultivated, the dream of being the most influential British ally in Trump's inner circle, was crumbling in real time. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer was all too visibly celebrating the president's decision. For Farage and even for those aligned with Kemi Badenoch's conservative faction, the decision was a brutal blow, one that underscored the transient nature of political power and influence. For years, Farage had repeatedly claimed that Trump was deeply invested in the issue of the Chagos Islands. Yet, the president's decision to support the agreement not only ridiculed Farage's assertions but also reignited long-standing skepticism about the true depth of their supposed friendship. Even before this decisive moment, there had been subtle signs suggesting that the relationship between Farage and Trump was not as profound as he had led us to believe. No member of the Trump family attended Farage's celebratory event in Washington, D.C., prior to the presidential inauguration, a stark contrast to figures like Boris Johnson, who enjoyed private meetings with Trump and an exclusive invite to witness the inauguration ceremony from the Capitol's rotunda. These ongoing snubs have grown increasingly significant over time. To make matters even more disheartening for Farage, none other than Elon Musk has publicly questioned his capability to lead Reform UK, suggesting that he is not adequately prepared for the immense challenges that lie ahead. What was initially brushed off as a mere offhand remark has now taken on a prophetic quality in the light of Trump's rejection. The growing sentiment that Farage is little more than a fervent admirer of Trump is gaining traction, with even his staunchest supporters beginning to ask the uncomfortable question: does Trump truly take him seriously? This issue is critical because a substantial part of Farage's political appeal has long been built on the notion of his intimate, almost conspiratorial, relationship with the former US president, a relationship that he claims endows him with an unparalleled understanding of Trump's mind, even to the extent of spending more time in America than within his own constituency. In stark contrast, during the discussions at the White House and the subsequent press conference, not a single mention was made of Farage. Instead, the spotlight was firmly fixed on the rapport between Trump and Starmer, with the president himself describing their connection as excellent. This moment of public dismissal has had far-reaching implications. The sidelining of Farage in favor of Starmer did not just embarrass him, it symbolized a definitive repudiation of the image he had worked so tirelessly to cultivate. Consider for a moment the fate of Kemi Badenoch, who had placed considerable emphasis on the Chagos Islands issue in the run-up to this fateful meeting. Once seen as a defiant and outspoken figure, she was abruptly reduced to the role of a mere bystander, her once robust stance rendered completely irrelevant within a matter of days. Meanwhile, earlier in the week, Starmer had already deftly undercut two of the primary points of criticism hurled at him by right-wing detractors, through a series of bold policy moves such as cutting foreign aid and increasing defense spending. Although these decisions came at the cost of losing a minister and igniting discontent among some within the Labour Party, they were widely viewed as astute moves that underscored his emerging leadership. Much of the credit for this political turnaround was attributed to Starmer's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, whose prominent role during the White House visit did not go unnoticed. Whether or not the concrete outcomes of that high-profile meeting were entirely as significant as some had hoped, one thing was crystal clear. Starmer had discovered his voice as Prime Minister. Who would have thought that an unexpected camaraderie with Trump, fostered right in the heart of the White House, would bring out the best in the Labour leader? The rapid pace of political change is, in many ways, nothing short of astonishing. Just a few weeks ago, Elon Musk took to his platform on X to launch a vehement attack on Starmer, accusing him of promoting a double standard in the judicial system and curbing free speech. Yet, in a twist that is as ironic as it is revealing, Starmer was seen later shaking hands with Trump, negotiating agreements, and confidently solidifying his image as a world leader. The transformation was both swift and dramatic. Not long ago, some close to Trump had hinted that Starmer's selection of Lord Mandelson as the prospective British ambassador to the United States might encounter significant resistance, a suggestion that now seems almost quaint in light of the unfolding events. While Farage had confidently predicted that Trump would publicly humiliate Starmer over the Chagos Agreement, the reality was an outcome that far exceeded even the boldest expectations. Starmer emerged from the encounter not only with his political adversaries weakened and his own status elevated, but also with a revitalized momentum that promises to further cement his reputation as a credible statesman. Meanwhile, Farage was left seething, his fury palpable as he clung desperately to the remnants of the influence he once believed to be unassailable. His carefully crafted image of being a central figure within Trump's inner circle was utterly dismantled, exposing the myth of his supposed closeness to the ex-president for what it truly is, an illusion. As we reflect on these events, one cannot help but feel a sense of profound disillusionment with the nature of political alliances that are so often built on shifting sands rather than on substantive, enduring principles. It is essential for us, as keen observers of the political landscape, to question what this saga reveals about the state of contemporary politics. Is it not curious that those who invest their reputations in personal branding and cultivated relationships can, in the blink of an eye, find themselves utterly abandoned when the winds of change begin to blow? The tale of Farage and his tragic miscalculation serves as a cautionary reminder that in the realm of high-stakes politics, the true measure of influence is not determined by mere proximity to power, but by the capacity to adapt, remain relevant, and, most importantly, command respect through proven leadership. As you listen to this narrative and reflect upon the unfolding drama, I invite you to consider the broader implications for our political system. In a time when media narratives are omnipresent and the allure of charismatic personalities often overshadows substantive policy debates, we must remain vigilant and critical. The rapid shifts we have witnessed, from Starmer's unexpected ascent to Farage's ignominious downfall, offer us a valuable lesson. Genuine influence is a fleeting commodity, and the spectacle of politics is as unpredictable as it is unforgiving. In closing, I thank you for joining me in this exploration of one of the most striking political reversals of our time. May this account serve as a reminder of the ever-changing nature of power and the importance of holding our leaders, and ourselves, to the highest standards of accountability and wisdom. Farewell, and take care.